Hello there, everybody. I am Dino Croc Studios, and today I am back with another Look Reviews. Now, I am aware it has been a while since I've had one. However, I am restarting this series for a very good reason. I assume most of you probably don't know this, but Thomas & Friends has gotten its second reboot, and so far it looks a lot better than the original. And I have gotten some of the toys for this reboot. Even though they've been out since June, I haven't gotten some of them until now. Now, I shall introduce you the stuff that I found at Walmart today. The Thomas & Friends 2026 James, and the Thomas & Friends 2026 Animal Park multi-pack. Now, before I begin, I will, of course, show you all the packaging. Like, for the 2-packs or the smaller packs, they will have the same, logo and, all this for all the packs, except the character on here is different. Like, the character that is shown right here is the character that is also in the packaging. Like, for example, the character shown on this art here is James, and so here is James. And same goes for, Thomas and Edward and Henry and Gordon and Doc and all those other guys. And also, we have so far our only multi-pack, which is the Animal Park multi-pack, which I'm sure almost everyone would get this just for Edward, but hey, I will return very shortly when these things are out of the box. Now that we have gotten the stuff out of the boxes, we can begin the reviews. First of all will probably be our Splendid Red Engine. James, the Splendid Red Engine. Now, I think this is probably one of the most controversial items, mainly due to the face. People do not like this face. However, if I'm going to give my personal opinion on this, I actually kind of like this James. Now, don't come up. Now, any actual Thomas fan, well, I am an actual Thomas fan, but any other Thomas fans, please do not come out here with pitchforks and torches and try to crucify me just because of my opinion. I personally think that this model of James is pretty good. And the face, I like the face. Now, it's time to move on to the body. First of all, I am very happy that this James has a bogey, because almost all other models of James don't have this front bogey, because, fun fact, James is actually supposed to be a 260, also known as a mogul. I know, a little strange, but, I personally like it. And, I do have one complaint about these tender engines, is that their tenders are, these tenders share all the same mold, with, it being long, and the wheelbase seeming a little bit too long. And also, it's kind of shorter. It feels like that, at least for some of them, it's shorter than their actual bodies. Like, for James, it seems fine, but for, other characters, one of which you'll see soon, it feels a little weird to have it a little shorter. But, personally, I also do like James. And I actually also like the magnet feature, since I mainly collect Thomas Wooden Railway, and those use the same type of magnets as these, at least hopefully. And so I'll be able to use the 2026 Thomas & Friends merch, specifically the die-cast metal collection stuff, in my series. And hopefully I'll be able to turn this James into Max, one of my OCs. Now, here's our female red engine, Rosie. Now, this is a pretty decent model. I'm not going to say that it's bad or anything, it's just fine. It is technically more accurate to, the actual S100 class, being, shorter and stouter, but, I don't know why, I just kind of don't really like the shorter stature of these. I kind of like the model, I kind of like the original model they had, during the model series and the CGI series, where, the boiler and it was a little taller. Same with, the side tanks and stuff. I just personally think that this doesn't look as good as, any of the previous models of her. However, I do gotta admit, I do like having a push-along, Rosie in red, even though this isn't the actual red livery she wears. And don't worry, she'll actually won't be probably wearing this in the show, except if she for some reason decide to wear this in the actual series, but like, whatever. Point is, it's a pretty decent model. I also like the fact that she has freckles on her face. She looks very nice. Now that I'm done with her, now it's time for probably my least favorite. And no, it's not because it's bad or anything, it's just because, well, it's kind of the most lackluster of the bunch. First of all, we're going to start with the load on this truck. It is the hippopotamus. I think this is either a juvenile hippopotamus or a pygmy hippo. It's fine. I mean, it's not really painted that well, but like, it's just supposed to be like cargo. I mean, you can just use this in a zoo or whatever. Just, if you're getting this just for the hippo, it's a real waste of money. Anyway, so here's this truck. It's basically just the same as the regular truck, which eventually will show up in Canada. Trust me. Except it has a little bit more like paw printing and the Animal Park logo on it. And also another thing, like, I don't really like the yellow coloring. Like, I get it's unique and all, but like, I would have preferred if the first Troublesome truck was made in the classic gray. And also another thing, the face. The expression is fine itself, I just don't really like it. Like, this thing has just way too much chin. This thing is way too much chin for my liking. It isn't even the same problem with the Troublesome Tanker. The Troublesome Tanker looks actually pretty good. Overall, this one's fine. Now, time to move on to a model which I didn't really think I'd like as much as I do. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I originally thought that the 2026 Thomas was going to be pretty mid. However, the mold's actually pretty decent. I quite like it. First of all, the face. I never really had any complaints about the face. I personally really liked it. And I thought it would fit Thomas's cheeky personality very nicely. Also, the paint is very nice. And another thing, for all the locomotives, I really like the fact that they actually have, like, a painted running board. Saves me the time with painting them myself. Even though it's probably just a separate piece of metal or plastic. Oh wait, this is probably made out of plastic because these parts are made out of metal, but whatever. It's very nice. I am kind of upset though that they didn't paint the whistle and the cab and the front cab windows. However, I can just paint those myself. I mean, probably won't paint the whistle since like that'll probably like mess up the model, but I can paint the cab windows, the front cab windows. Overall, this is a pretty decent model, and I'll be probably using this Thomas as a template for another custom. Which one? You'll just have to wait and see. And finally, my favorite one so far, Edward. Now, ever since that we got this pack announced, we already knew that Edward was probably going to be in the series, because if they get a toy, they're probably going to be in the series. And I am very happy to see that Edward is not getting shelved again. Well, as we can see here, I have the same positives with Edward as I did with James. First of all, for I believe one of the first times ever, outside of, well, the first times ever I've seen, he has the correct wheel arrangement, which is a 440, also known as an American. And he also has a movable bogie. Now, I am well aware that the take-along model did have the correct wheel arrangements. However, due to being a wooden railway collector, I am not used to seeing engines with the correct wheel arrangements. I'm just used to having to get what I get. And don't really complain that much, because I do not know how to take apart models. However, if there is something that I don't really like, is that they released a variant of Edward, and then they just don't release a normal version of Edward, which is kind of annoying to me, since I really want a normal Edward that isn't the Animal Park version. However, theoretically, I could just repaint Edward a little bit and have him just remove all of these details, but that won't matter anyways. I'm probably going to turn Edward into a custom anyways, since I can just buy another Animal Park Edward if I wanted to. And now, so far, I think this is a very promising line. I have already seen a lot of the leaks of the toys on the internet, and I was very excited to get some of these in person. And now, let's just say I am definitely going to be buying more of these. Mainly because I don't have any other options, since this basically replaced Thomas Wooden Railway. Still salty about that. Now, time for some size comparisons. Minnie's Duck, Minnie Amber, Custom Fred Pale Hay, even though I need to still add a new face on him. 2001 Thomas Wooden Railway James, Custom Thomas Wooden Railway Luke, 70th Anniversary Motorized Duck, and Studio Series Wheeljack. Now, I hope you all enjoyed this slightly shorter version of Luke Reviews. Anyways, I shall see you all in the next video, which will probably be the start of my new series. Goodbye!